How's it going, wrestling fans? Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Wrestle Report, episode 34 with Phil and Don. I am Phil.
And I'm Don.
It's been 2 weeks since we last spoke, so there is plenty to catch up on. We're going to start here with some AEW news. As AEW Grand Slam event, the two-night event went off without a hitch, having, a very anticipated match between Daniel Bryan, which I'm still calling him that, Bryan Danielson, and Kenny Omega, which ended in a 30-minute time limit draw, and that's exactly where I want to start here tonight. Before we get into even that part of it, what did you think of it opening the show for this, 20,000 seat arena at Arthur Ashe in New York?
I was okay with it at some point. Like, I was a little bit okay with it, and I had a problem with it at the same time.
Okay.
I was okay with it because you're going right to the action, and I always love when you start a main event in the first match to get you interested into the whole show. But then I also didn't like it because I felt like the after that match, not many good matches were happening until the main event again.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, if you're gonna do that, you gotta keep up the pace, because that pace, they started off fast.
Yeah. So I think every time someone, any booker comes along and they start, getting their style, one thing I think we figured out with Tony Khan is he likes to bookmark his shows. He give you a really good match at the beginning and a really good match at the end, and he kind of gets to play with the middle, and he can put in other things if he wanted. I kind of felt the way you did. This obviously could have been the main event. This could have main evented, a pay-per-view, and it probably will in the future. Yeah. I think where it was smart to put it at the beginning, if you put this at the end and you do the time limit draw, you might feel a little gypped. But when you put the time limit draw at the beginning and you still have a whole hour and 30 minutes of a show to, pipe you back up, that's where I thought it was smart. I think if it was the main event, you almost don't have the option to go time limit draw unless you risk leaving people feel disappointed leaving your show if you do it at the very end there. So that was my one thing with it about having in the beginning. So what did you think about the time limit draw? Because in my opinion, it's still really the only way they could go, because if Danielson beats Omega, it's like, all right, that should have just been for the title then. And then if Omega just beats Bryan, where do you go from there? So kind of booked into a corner, not necessarily in a bad way. But overall, I think it was the only move. I don't know how you felt about it.
Yeah, I had no problems with it. I think last time we talked about it, we talked about it as most likely going into a time limit draw.
Mm-hmm.
So I was okay with it. Yeah. I had no problems with it. You're right that you definitely hit it on the head. If they was to do it, if Kenny Omega couldn't get pinned, Daniel Bryan could get pinned, so why not? And they don't do DQ finishes anyway, so
yeah, that would have been the worst call. I would rather somebody win than a DQ. I mean, there was 5% of me that's like, I hope it's like the Good Brothers don't just run down and ruin this whole thing. That was one, and I like the Good Brothers for the most part, but that was one thing I was a little concerned about at the time. The other thing I was pretty happy about is the way the time limit draw came about. We've seen it in WWE, when they do beat the clock challenger, the few times that a time limit even matters in the WWE anymore, where, someone will hit a finish and it'll be 1, 2, and then the bell will go off, or the timer or whatever. This match had no signs of slowing down. When the timer went off, some people said that they didn't get a clear indication of the timer. I think they were saying it in the arena, but it didn't come off great on TV. That's where
I actually heard it on TV. I was like, oh yeah. When I heard it, I was like, yeah, they're going to do a time limit draw on this.
Which they do have a time limit be known in every match. It's just been a long time since we had a time limit draw. I remember being at or watching one of the Dynamites, and it was, you hear the guy say, 5 minutes remaining. It was an Adam Page match, and 5 minutes remaining, and it puts the thought in your head that, oh, maybe it's a time limit draw. Then when he said 1 minute remaining, he hit the buckshot lariat and pinned him right away. So to ever be cautious of the counter, I think is a good thing. And I think we need to have one or two. I think what would really fix the issue of anytime they mention the timer, it's automatically a time limit draw. Do a random ass match on Dynamite between, if Sammy Guevara didn't have the title, Sammy Guevara and Jack Evans, and it just randomly goes to a time limit draw. And then they face off next week and there's a clear winner, just so you could feel that at any given time, there could be a time limit draw. I think that would be an interesting way to go about it. But I appreciated the fact that when that thing went off, like they were still just slugging away at each other. You could give these guys 30 more minutes. And Bryan Danielson has mentioned one thing he never got to do in WWE that he wanted to was have an hour match because he hasn't had one of those since signing with the company. So that I could easily see this becoming maybe an Iron Man match. But if not, just a match that has a 60-minute time limit that takes, 58 minutes of that 60 for there to be a winner.
Oof. That's a long ass time right there.
I mean, Omega's done it with Okada, I think twice, like one that was the time limit draw. And then the other win was, just under the hour mark. So Omega's done it. We know Bryan has the ability to do it. So I don't know when they're going to go that route, but that does seem, 30 minutes was not enough. That much we know. So unless they figure out another way to do an Iron Man match or not, they're going to need more time. They're going to need a bigger boat if they want to pull this off.
Yeah. Now, where will they do that at? You still think they're going to do it at probably Full Gear?
I think if, because everybody still thinks Adam Page is the guy to take the title off of Omega. If he doesn't come back soon, I think that's the route they're going to have to take, and a little bit more on him later. But yeah, at this rate, I don't know who could leapfrog Bryan into getting that shot unless, and we're going to talk about this soon, they do have the Casino ladder match coming up on Wednesday for the 2-year anniversary of Dynamite. Maybe that'll leapfrog him. But usually with these Casino ladder matches, usually they're on a pay-per-view. That guy just gets a shot, relatively quickly after. So I don't know that they'll have to hold that one out to the pay-per-view. So I think it's either Bryan or the winner of this ladder match, which we will discuss later. Another thing that we talked about for this Grand Slam show, this was on the Rampage version of it. It was all shot in one day, but, this didn't air till Friday. The Hobbs CM Punk match. And we talked about how this was going to be completely different than his match with Darby Allin. Punk has to sell his ass off. It's not a guy that he's bigger than. It's a guy that's much bigger than him. And overall, this went about exactly how I expected it to. The only surprising thing for me, I think we either talked about it or it was just in my head. I didn't know if Punk was going to be able to get up Hobbs for the go to sleep. And I felt foolish thinking that because he got him up multiple times. So he only hit it once, but he put him on his shoulders easy.
Unfortunately, I didn't get to see this match. I did get to hear about it. And you're right. We did think that how is he going to carry this man? This man is Hopper's a big boy.
Oh yeah, 260, 280, something like that.
Yeah, and good for him. Hey, that was from what I'm hearing, that was probably was the best match Hobbs had. From what I'm hearing. Mm-hmm. So good for him.
It's really the first time in a long time that he's even had a one-on-one match to really show. Usually, being in Team Taz, they have a lot of, tag matches and stuff. And that brings me to the next question. Is this thing with Team Taz done? Does it lead to Punk has said, before he even signed that Ricky Starks was someone he wanted to have a match against. Does this continue? And if it does, and I think I mentioned this last show, I would be totally okay with Starks being the first guy to beat Punk. Because someone's got to do it eventually, and what a moment that would be for him. And even if it's, Hobbs interferes because he's, hurt about losing to him, like they can do it however they want to do it. But if Starks is the guy that gets the win, I think that would just be perfect. And the entire audience. I know you said you didn't see this match, but the ability that Hook is over with the crowd for never having a match is getting borderline stupid at this point. And I'm not saying I disagree with it, but it's amazing how over this guy is just standing out there like this most of the time. I would love for Punk to one day, I don't know if it's Hook's first match, but that's something that would be hilarious to see too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So what do you think? What do you think about if not Stark, who do you think should be the first guy to beat Punk?
I mean, I wouldn't mind Hangman. I wouldn't mind Kenny, of course.
Yeah.
Daniel Bryan. I want to see Punk and Rusev. Miro, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Miro, yeah. That is an interesting one because what a lot of people don't, and I don't know if you ever listened to the Unrestricted podcast that AEW does. They were so the Royal Rumble that was CM Punk's last appearance was Rusev's debut on the main roster. So they were literally ships passing in the night, and obviously never got to face each other. Like they had hit a couple moves on each other in the Rumble itself, but that is someone that Punk just missed out on, in his words. So I could see Miro definitely being one of those situations. And I think we mentioned with Hangman, they could do the whole, straight edge thing. I think that needs to happen when Punk does inevitably become heel, and then you can do the whole straight edge thing on Adam Page for, him always being, the drinking cowboy and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be cool. And obviously plenty of other things happen on Grand Slam. We are a little late talking about it, so we're just really hitting the high points, obviously. And then you fast forward to this past week's Dynamite, and the news doesn't stop there because we have a new TNT champion in Sammy Guevara. He defeats God's favorite champion, Miro. Would you call that were you surprised that was the end of that he was able to beat him, clean like he did?
Yeah, I was definitely surprised. I did not see that coming. I thought Miro would at least held it on for a little bit longer and have Guevara or someone. Guevara should have won, yes, but not now. I would say probably at Full Gear. Let Miro hold on to the title for a little bit longer. I do like the fact that they're challenged. Miro's was having multiple matches against people for the title, back to back. So I mean, I'm not mad at the fact that they just threw a random, not a random, but a TNT title match on Dynamite FT. I'm cool with that. But
and
but
the way
I just wouldn't have him lose just yet.
Yeah, the way this title goes though, like I see Miro going up to the main event level now. Like he will probably get his title shot pretty soon after. Like for the title, it might be on a Dynamite or something, might not be pay-per-view, but like Miro and Kenny at Full Gear, that would be something pretty cool if they can make that happen. That'd be one of the few guys I could see jumping over Daniel Bryan for his spot.
Oh yeah, I can see that too.
So, and you talk about defending the title every week. It looks like Sammy Guevara is going to start with that, and his first opponent in a few days, a familiar face for people that are frequent watchers of NXT like Donovan, Bobby Fish is apparently going to answer the call and be the first challenger for Sammy Guevara. How do you feel about that?
I love it, man. I'm a big fan of Bobby Fish, and I feel like he was the underrated guy in the Undisputed Era.
Definitely, yeah.
So I'm happy he's getting a chance. I want to see what Adam Cole does. I don't know if you saw the tweet, but Adam Cole tweeted out a retweet about with that, saying type thing. Okay. Who knows what could happen there?
Yeah.
And I could also see Adam Cole probably getting involved and probably being the next one to challenge Sammy for that belt. Oh, that would be a banger, bro.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I wonder if Bobby, and really it's the question, is if he's actually signed, because I could totally see them just having a great match. Sammy barely wins, and like he could always come back. That forbidden door is always open, as Tony likes to say. But I don't know if he's officially signed. If he is, that could make for an interesting thing with Adam Cole, like you were saying. So either way, we could just get a great match on Dynamite, or it could lead to something more.
Now, I did see something, speculation, rumors, that if you look at the graphic for the match, you can see Bobby Fish actually has like a AEW shirt. His shirt, the shirt that he's holding up, you can see the AEW logo on the shirt. So
let me see. I'm looking on Twitter. I had the ladder match graphic pulled up. I'm gonna see if I can see that in the meantime while you say anything. But I still agree with you about, let's say he gets through Bobby Fish and you give Guevara his time to shine, but eventually Adam Cole being the guy to beat Sammy, he would, could have the way he did in NXT where he kind of kicked off his NXT career being like North American champion and whatnot. And I could see like a very similar thing to that. Let's see. I see the Bobby Fish shirt on the graphic here, but I don't know who made that shirt. It's just his name. Maybe I'm looking at something different, but either way, I'm excited to see the match.
Oh yeah.
So before we leave the AEW news, the other thing I wanted, we hinted at it already. We got the ladder match on Wednesday, the 2-year anniversary of Dynamite. Crazy that it's been 2 years already, especially with the pandemic. It makes it like you almost forget that amount of time because we're finally getting to the point that full arenas to watch wrestling feels normal again. At first, it just seemed like a treat that there was anybody there. Yeah. So we have the casino ladder match, weirdly not on a pay-per-view this year, I guess, with All Out being, so big with Punk and everything. They didn't have room for that multi-man match that takes, 20, 30 minutes on the card, which is understandable. So to push it to, and it still makes sense that it's on the anniversary episode of Dynamite. At least it's still on like a special show.
Yeah.
So
I feel like every show is a special show when it comes to AEW.
Really, I was thinking about this earlier. You know how like if you look, I used to have an app for this because me and Jody used to we were always curious about this. You know how like almost every day is a holiday for something. It'll be like official chocolate chip cookie day or whatever it might be, or official a lot of them are food related, I'm pretty sure. But that's the way AEW feels. It's like, well, we got beach break, and then in 2 weeks we got our anniversary show, and then after that we got winter is coming, and it's just like, you're right. Almost every show feels like a special show, but this one isn't just a show with a name and a theme. It truly is, their anniversary show. So it does make it feel big. And I don't know if this will be the main event. It probably could be the casino ladder match where the winner receives a world title shot. We never know when this is going to happen. Pac, Andrade, Idolo, Orange Cassidy, John Moxley, Matt Hardy, Lance Archer, and of course the Joker card. If the winner is in the field right now, who would you like to see win this if the Joker is not the winner? Because we'll talk about who we think the Joker is after this.
I mean, I wouldn't mind Andrade winning. Because I don't need to see Moxley and Kenny again. Don't need to see Orange Cassidy and Kenny. Definitely don't want to see Matt and Kenny. So it's either between Pac or Pac, Andrade, probably Lance.
Lance could be interesting.
Lance could be interesting, yeah. And whoever the Joker is. Yeah. But correct me if I'm wrong. The past Jokers, have they won this match?
Not every time, but they have.
But I know like Brian Cage won.
Brian Cage did. The year before it didn't, and then they also do the Joker in the Battle Royal. So it was like Leo Rush, and he didn't win. So like they have a good track record, but they don't win every single one, which they were smart to do. Eventually, someone has to come in and not win it. And then the 1 year for the Battle Royal, the Joker was Matt Sydal when he almost freaking killed himself. We all remember that. So I feel like they have like a 70% success rate, but it's enough where it's like not a guaranteed win. Okay, in my opinion. So it's funny how you said you damn sure don't want to see Matt Hardy win, and I agree with you. But hear me out on this. Because he's been tweeting like, oh, I had the advantage, I'm a ladder match legend and all this stuff. And Kenny just coming off beating Christian. And if this just ends up being like, all right, this guy gets a title shot and we just have it on Dynamite at some point. If Matt Hardy were to win, just so we could gloat about being a ladder match legend, that does something for his character. And he faces Kenny and Kenny just wins, because you're obviously not giving Matt Hardy the title. And then Kenny could start the narrative of like, all these guys might come from over there and come over here, but like I'll just keep beating them because our guys are better here. Like I could see them spinning that narrative because you had Christian and then you get Matt Hardy and they're kind of the same guy based on where they came from.
But he could also say that about 3 other people though, the Pac, Andrade and Moxley.
True. That's true, but I can see what being Matt Hardy.
But when you talk about a legend, WWE legend, though, you're right. Matt Hardy is a WWE legend. So.
Yeah, like these guys have come. He's obviously had his stuff with Moxley. I don't see that jumping right in. And like Pac and Andrade a little bit, but he's already made his identity. Pac was a big name before WWE, and they just kind of pigeonholed him into the cruiserweight title picture, and then he came out. So like he's had a career before and after. Matt Hardy. I know, like it's a good point that these guys have been in WWE, but Matt Hardy's the only one that feels like a WWE guy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you're right. Because he's been in. If anything, he's been there longer. Both tenders, really.
Yeah, that's true. So, if it is the Joker, who do you think the Joker is?
Well, from what I saw on Twitter, Murphy, the former Buddy Murphy. From WWE had put a card up, a card emoji. Okay, and it was Joker. Yeah. So
Okay.
I mean, I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind that at all.
Yeah. That seems like a guy that, it'd be great for him to show up as the Joker and like Buddy Murphy's all elite. I think he's going by Buddy Matthews now, which I think is,
Buddy Matthews.
yeah. So like, Buddy Matthews is all elite or whatever and doesn't necessarily win. I think that'd be fine. Like he's a guy that could get debuted in this spot, not win and still look fine. So that is definitely cool.
I actually see him winning too though. Just
no, I could, but it's not a guarantee. Like when Brian Cage debuted, it's like there's no way he's not winning because it wouldn't make sense. Like, but Buddy Matthews is the guy that could come in, have a great showing, and it's a ladder match, so nobody's losing. It's just one guy's winning.
Yeah.
So that's the perfect way for same with like the Battle Royal. Like you might not win, you get thrown over the top, but nobody's beating you on your debut if you don't win the whole thing.
You're right. Yeah. But I also think because I know in the past Kenny Omega said that he would love to fight, have a match with him. Okay. So I was more thinking about that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I could see. I mean, I wouldn't mind Andrade winning.
That would be interesting for sure. Yeah. They could bring up the whole thing in Mexico or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think if I'm going with the field, it would be Andrade. I don't know if this Joker is necessarily someone not on the roster. They've never really made that clear. Because if not, this would be a great way to bring Hangman back into the fold, I think.
I thought about that too.
Yeah.
I definitely thought this is exactly how they're gonna bring him back in, and this is how he's gonna get his match.
Yeah, and that's the smartest way to put him right back where he was to a way that it makes sense. Leo Rush has come out of retirement for like the third time, so he could be the first guy ever to be the Joker twice because he was the Joker in the Battle Royal at Double or Nothing when I was there, and then he could. So that that would be funny to me if he was like a 2-time Joker.
Oh yeah,
that would be interesting to me. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this. We already talked about the Bobby Fish match. What else do we got on here? We have the Elite. Where is it? Oh, the Elite, the Young Bucks, Adam Cole and Kenny Omega versus Christian Cage, Bryan Danielson, and Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus. So that should be some fun stuff too. Shaping up like a good 2-year anniversary, and let's do 2 more for AEW as they're really hitting their stride in this post-pandemic. I don't think people realize that it's a miracle that they even got out of the pandemic, being a brand new company, and the way that that TNT money helps. Don't get it twisted, but like. To see them thriving the way that they are is great, and to hit that 2-year mark is a big deal, and we'll just keep going after that. Now we will move to WWE news. It is draft season, and I feel like as I had this thought in my mind, I tried to go back and find it. I'm pretty sure we're going to have the same conversation this year as we did last year's draft. I don't think the WWE knows what a draft is because this version of it. So they used to call it the Superstar Shakeup. That was a more adequate name to what's actually happening here, because Don, you watch sports, football, basketball, baseball, all of it. You don't have to draft someone that's on your team already. So when the first pick comes out and SmackDown drafts Roman Reigns, he's already there. So to me, I think the word draft gives the public an idea on what they're about to see. But I think what they're pulling off here, I just have an issue with, you don't draft guys on your own team, I don't think. And they could make the rule that champions have to stay put or whatever, but it's just weird to me.
I understand what you mean by that. But then I also think about it like everyone's a free agent when it comes to this point. Everyone is basically like a fantasy draft. Yeah. That's how I look at it. But you are right though. I did think about that too. At first I was like, why are they picking the same people? Yeah. Like yes, Roman Reigns is already on there. Madcap and Happy Corbin. Yeah. They're already on SmackDown already. Why are you guys picking them up?
And then what was it? Charlotte is the only one that she's like the Raw Women's Champion and got drafted to SmackDown. Did I get that right? Yes. And there's correct me if I'm wrong, because I only caught some of this because I was watching Monday Night Football at the same time. But I'm sorry, this was on SmackDown. So yeah, this won't take effect till like a couple weeks
after Crown Jewel.
Okay, so basically it gives them enough time to get the belt straightened out. Is basically the way I take that out.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. I know at Crown Jewel they're having Bianca Sasha and Becky,
Mm-hmm.
the triple threat match at Crown Jewel. So that should be interesting too, because Bianca's on Raw now.
Yeah. To me, like there was a handful of picks here, and I have some of them written down. You can fill in a few others I might have forgotten. The only thing that made this feel like a draft was Drew McIntyre to Raw and Jeff Hardy to SmackDown. Like, because those were guys that actually moved, if I have that right. And I'm happy that Jeff's on SmackDown.
Drew's on SmackDown. Yeah, Drew on SmackDown and Jeff's on SmackDown as well.
Okay, so truly the only one that was Jeff Hardy moving to SmackDown. Yeah, they both moved there over there.
Yeah.
So, and I like that Jeff's on SmackDown because Jeff Hardy's my favorite wrestler ever, and I'm more inclined to watch at least some of SmackDown than I am some of Raw. So I was definitely happy to see that. And then the only other one that made me, I was happy about it, and then I had to think about it for a minute, and that's something WWE does a lot. It's like you can enjoy this stuff if you don't think about it at all. So when I saw Hit Row got drafted, I was like, okay. And they're on SmackDown. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Okay, which is perfect. Because again, I'm going to watch SmackDown more than Raw. And I'm like, yeah, that's perfect for them. A little soon for a lot of those guys, but I mean, they're in a group and they can hide some of the greener guys, like my boy Top Dollar. I want nothing but the best for that guy, and they can be a tag team for the most part or whatever. And then I remembered that Swerve Scott is still North American champion. So something's going to happen. And again, they have still Crown Jewel. So again, they're going to do something. They're going to give it to Braun Breaker or somebody, which I'm all for that. Just change his name. But it reminded me that like, oh yeah, this is great. But then it just reminds me again that they don't give two shits about their belts when they do stuff like this.
Yeah. I could see them because since they're still in the feud with Legado del Fantasma,
Mm-hmm.
I can still see them. Going ahead and having Hit Row versus them, since now they got a full person. Since now they got a what's her name? Cameron Electra.
Yeah.
Something
Electra.
That's her name. It's Electra, right? I know.
Electra is definitely the last name. Yeah.
And they could have like all of them versus all of them for the North American title if they win. Yeah. So that also protects Swerve, and you can have like a Dantes or B-Fab taking the loss if it came down to it. You don't have Swerve losing.
I am excited to see them here. I'm calling it right now. We're a couple months away. Christmas episode of SmackDown. I'm really calling my shot here because if this works, I'm gonna like pull this video. Christmas episode of SmackDown. There's gonna be some backstage in between now and then with Hit Row and the Street Profits, and they're gonna do some stupid, we're all kind of the same gimmick backstage thing. I'm convinced that's gonna happen.
I could see that happening, but also I could also see the Street Profits going back to Raw.
Yeah, that might happen tonight. And actually, so we're recording this Monday night is officially 8:00, and Raw. Donovan's got Raw on. So if something major happens, he can fill us in here by the time you guys hear this, because I think all the heavy hitters will go, probably pretty soon. And I'm gonna try and call my shot before this happens. My number one pick, if I was in charge of either of these, what they need to do moving forward if they want to make this a true draft. And here's how you can still move the big stars. You can have trades during the draft season. So if you want, in the future, Edge went to Raw too. That was the other big move, right?
Yeah.
That's probably a good call. But if in the future, if you want to trade for Roman Reigns when he's not champion, you can make it happen within this time. But in the future, if NXT is going to be a true developmental brand, make the draft only from the pool of NXT. You only got to make it like 3 or 4 picks each too. You don't have to you don't have to steal the whole roster every year, but 3-4 guys each. And you'll kind of know who it is by then. That's what I would like to see in the future to make this a true draft. And that being said, my number one.
You're right. I like the trades. The trades, like if I want, we'll give you 2 picks of NXT for Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
Type of thing.
Or even like, 2, ends up being 2 mid, like let's say Edge is still around next year. Let's say SmackDown wants Edge back, right? So they trade, I'm just gonna like top, Hit Row split up by now. So it's like, we'll trade you Swerve Scott and Chad Gable for, so like, what I mean? That's how you can move around a bunch, 2 for 1s, 3 for 1s. Like, I I think they did that with Triple H one year. They sent like Booker T and a tag team for Triple H to go to SmackDown or something weird like that. I remember years and years ago. But for tonight, and I would have done it on Friday too, Raw, SmackDown, doesn't matter. My number one pick would have been LA Knight.
Yeah.
Because clearly they don't care about him on NXT anymore. And him coming to the main roster with the number one overall pick attitude would have been perfect. Like he could just continue.
That would be sick for real.
Yeah. So they had said, NXT is in this draft. As far as tonight's draft goes, that's the one name I want to hear on one of the shows. I would like it on SmackDown for reasons mentioned, but Raw could use some star power like him. So that's my, I hope that name gets called at some point tonight. Do you have any guys that you hope to get moved up from NXT?
From NXT, give me
Von Wagner going number one, baby.
give me Kevin Grimes, bro. I think Kevin Grimes will do great on in the main roster. I think Kevin Grimes and Baron Corbin. Kevin Grimes should be Matt Cap. Well, not that name, but he should
be the guy with Corbin.
Yeah. He should be his partner. Yeah, because they're both rich. They both got money, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's right there. It's right there. WWE.
So, I mean, we got a few more things to touch on here, but as this is going, Don, if any big draft picks come up, just keep us posted here. He's minding the TV in the meantime.
Yeah, right now, Becky Lynch is at Raw right now.
She got put to Raw, or she was on Raw?
No, she's just on Raw.
Okay, gotcha. So this is just the perfect time of year for something like this. I don't know how long this will last, but I'm gonna do this kind of closing segment and just call it "Did You Watch?" Because there was a lot of wrestling related shows that aren't wrestling matches, and I'm all for it here. So we're gonna start with the one we've talked about the most in the past. We have 2 episodes to kind of breeze through here. Dark Side of the Ring has hit bangers back-to-back weekend, or back-to-back Thursdays, I should say, with their episodes here. The first one was on Chris Kanyon, which I don't know about you, but I knew who Chris Kanyon was. I remember him mostly from the Invasion angle. He was kind of, I think he even had the shirt at one point, Alliance MVP, just because he was one of the guys that actually got over out of the Alliance. And I mostly remember him from that. And, we'd always heard the stories on why he may or may not have been released from the company about, his sexual preference and all that. We've always heard that story, never heard it fully. And, the fact that I had heard of the Mortis character. I'd never seen anything about it. That was actually pretty cool because that happened in like 94, 95. I'm like 2 or 3 years old. Definitely not something I would have watched live, but I, have since gone and looked up that stuff, and it was definitely pretty cool. And I don't know if I'm kind of, leading into this pretty heavy, but the Howard Stern interview that he did, it's like an hour long because that's how long a Stern episode is. His episode on there was pretty crazy too. This is back in like 2001 or 2. But I learned a lot about Chris Kanyon. I definitely look at him differently. James Mitchell was the MVP of that episode, being so close to Kanyon and being able to give all these, first account stories on his life and his struggle. Definitely a, sad ending to this one. But I thought I knew his whole story, and I was nowhere close. So I'm really glad that they did this piece.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Pause on that. Becky Lynch just confirmed she is on Raw.
Okay. There you go.
First pick of Raw. Yep.
So she was on SmackDown, right?
SmackDown. Yep.
Okay. So that's an actual move. Good job on that one. All right.
So now I'm thinking that Seth Rollins is going to go to Raw now as well.
It's possible. Definitely possible. So yeah, what did you think of this Chris Kanyon episode?
See, I'm just like you. I knew of Chris Kanyon because of the Invasion angle. I believe he was a hardcore champion.
He's a hardcore champion, and then at one point he was when they brought all the WCW belts over, he was like U.S. champ and tag champ at the same time.
Yeah. So I knew that he was. I've heard that of his sexual preference. I didn't know the backstory, and I thought that was pretty cool. To know who he was behind closed doors. I did see the Howard Stern thing, and then the whole John Cena thing.
Which real quick, that whole John Cena thing, like, that's like a 2-minute bit. That was like that was like 2005. John Cena had only recently he's like world champ for the first time. And you can't find that interview, the full interview, anywhere anymore. Because the shit that he said, talked about like sleeping with fans and stuff, like that'll never, because I saw it way back when, but yeah, that's something WWE never wants to see the light of day, the full version of what the way Cena used to get down when he was, first in the main event scene. But continue.
And like I didn't know about the Mordecai thing. I thought that was pretty cool. That was a pretty cool gimmick. It seemed like he was ahead of his time. Like
yes.
like everyone really did say, like he was more of a high flyer for a big guy.
Yeah.
And that's like I'm always down for a big guy that can fly.
Yeah, he, his stuff on the Invasion, like he knew what he was doing. He looked like a trained professional in there, but when you're in WWF, you can only do so much. So to go back and look how he like would have fit into the cruiserweight peak in the 90s was kind of crazy. And then the whole Mortis thing against Glacier, I never realized that it's like, hey, Mortal Kombat's popular. Let's do our own. Like it was kind of cool. But I definitely like the episode. Definitely check it out if you haven't. I only watched this second one today. I actually had the day off, so I was watching it around 1:00 today. The FMW promotion with the death matches, and this is another thing. Like we've seen stuff like this. I've seen, Anita and Terry Funk when he's trying to wake him up and he covers him for the ring explodes. Something that AEW tried to recreate. Almost worked. Almost got it.
Almost.
So, again, stuff like that I've heard, and the way, and I've actually seen, and I should have wrote the other guy's name down, but basically when Onita retires and they basically put the company on that masked guy's shoulders.
Yeah, so I know it started with the H.
Yeah, I should have wrote it down, but I've seen that clip where I didn't realize that's what paralyzed him, but when he goes for basically the lion salt from the top rope and spikes himself, and that's when he became paralyzed. I had seen that clip before. I did not know the context of it. So this is another one that I've seen things in it, and the way this was kind of built off of wrestler versus martial artist. It was essentially a primitive idea similar to the UFC, because you had obviously it was a work because a pro wrestler was involved, but that was basically the concept. It was this Anita, against different martial artists, and it basically turned into its own promotion. And I was actually looking up more of the promotion stuff, and like whenever I look at a promotion, I always look at like title histories, and kind of gives you a good idea on who was the top guys. This company didn't really have traditional, like, this is our world champion and this is the best guy here. They just put on these crazy matches for trophies and other things, but not really like it was not your traditional, like, let's all go after a belt type of promotion, which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. I said the same thing. Because it looked like they just brought in people randomly. Mm-hmm. It was more of a company that people would come through, say hi, do a couple matches, and then they go on their way. Just like you, I did see that first death match. When I first heard that they're gonna have a death match for AEW, I did my research and I saw that Terry Funk match.
Yeah,
that was the first thing I saw. So I was familiar in that set in that way, and then as well as the guy doing the lion salt and spiking his head. I saw that too. It was also great to see like the backstory of what's his name? Okada?
The main guy?
Yeah.
It was Atsushi Onita.
Onita, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought he had a pretty decent story, like on how he brought how he did FMW. It was pretty cool.
The guy in the mask is Hayabusa was the name of the guy in the mask. Yeah, okay. pretty unique name. But it was interesting too, because the way Onita, he basically built the company and he retired after only 4 years, and he kind of left. He gifted the entire promotion to the ring announcer, whose name I don't have here, but he was basically there for the whole ride of the 4 or 5 years that he was there. And the company never really got to keep its popularity. Really, the more I think about it, this was basically the ECW of Japan, because you had New Japan and All Japan, as the WWF and WCW, and then you had this third promotion that more so had like a cult following. And the way I interpret it in my American brain is it's basically the ECW, and it was the third but really passionate fan base of their country. And at times it might have been second most popular with its cult following.
Yeah, I felt like ECW basically came from this.
I think Sabu straight up said that at one point. He said, ECW came from the ashes of, because eventually FMW, they couldn't keep going the way they were doing. So they turned it into like just a semi-normal promotion. And that's not what people like. If ECW turned around one day, if ECW turned around and tried to be Mid-South one day, they wouldn't have kept their fans. So like it, and I think it's still technically around, just nowhere near the type of, it says it's still in business to this day. But it's clearly not at the same level that it used to be. But definitely, I think we talked about this last show. A lot of these that we watch, we've watched wrestling for a long time. I know most of the story, and I just watch it to hear it beginning to end and clearly put together. I knew almost nothing about this story. So this might be one of my favorite ones just because it's all new information to me. So very well done by them, I felt.
Oh, yeah, definitely, man. I didn't know much about FMW. Just some of the stuff, like some of the videos, the 2 videos I saw from them. Like I didn't know Chris Jericho fought on there. I didn't know that Sabu's uncle was the Sheik. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So it's like it was definitely surprising to see that in Sabu came a long way.
The one thing that I was really happy to see actually was like, I knew Terry Funk was there because we've seen the one clip over and over, but the way he was like a hero over there, because a lot of guys in Japan are just guys in boots and tights and they're just like presented as athletes, but Terry Funk just being a cowboy, just going out there with a cowboy hat and like cowboy boots was like a character to them. And it was like, I think there was a time where Japanese wrestling fans thought that that's just the way America was. Everybody walking around looking like cowboys because their only introduction to Western culture was Terry Funk, which I thought was really funny. So to see how well he was received over there, and his interview pieces were good in this because he's kind of fallen in not so great health in more recent times. So to see him out doing this, coherent and joking and stuff, like if this is one of the last times we see Terry Funk on TV, I think this was a good presentation of him.
Oh yeah,
and he still does not like Onita.
Huh?
He still does not like Onita. He made that very clear at the end.
Yeah. He kept on bringing that up.
Yeah. So that was interesting too. Any last thoughts on this one?
No, I feel like this season has been a really good season so far.
Yeah, I'm almost like they did that mid-season, break, and I'm, like it would have been cool to just hear all these in a row, but I'm glad we're getting them out now. And I forget what the next couple are. I'm gonna try and find it.
I think it's the K9, something K9. On Thursday.
Dark Side of the Ring. Let's see here. Season 3. Okay, I'll try and cut some of this out. So Lou Vachon, XPW, and the final one is the steroid trial. But yeah, the one next week is Bikers, Bombs, and Johnny K9. So yeah, I'm not 100% sure what that's about. So I'll definitely look.
Yeah, I'm pretty interested to hear about it. I heard that Jim Cornette is going to be on this one.
Okay.
So it got to be a controversial story if Jim Cornette is on there.
Definitely. And then it's very smart of them to make the last one the steroid trial. I see the Luna Vachon one here. I know her mostly from like the oddities in the Attitude Era. Don't know a lot about her, but apparently she's got a story worth telling. So definitely looking forward to that. We got 2 more quick did you watch type things going down now. Did you watch the debut episode of Roads to the Top following Dynamite last week?
Yes, I did.
What'd you think?
I mean, it's all right. I mean, I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of Cody Rhodes, so I mean, I'm really just watching to see the behind the stage stuff for AEW. Really, I think it reminds me too much of like Total Bellas.
It's exactly what it is. Total Divas.
Total Divas. Yeah. So
it is funny. with those kind of shows, because like my sister has never watched wrestling a day in her life. She knows who Paige is because she's watched Total Divas, so she knows like that's her favorite wrestler because it's like the only wrestler she knows. It was definitely got Total Divas vibes. I am a Cody fan, but I did enjoy the backstage segments more than just him and Brandy talking. And like, I'm not going to watch this religiously by any means, but the fact that it comes on right after Dynamite, I'm not going to like run and turn my TV off. I'll probably catch bits and pieces.
Yeah.
The highlight of the whole show was Cody taking the shot of Jack and gargling it like old school style. Yeah. That was the highlight of the whole episode, I think. But
I thought it was pretty funny how they interesting how the Jay Cargill and Red Velvet thing was in there. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I didn't know that. I didn't know that she got stiffed.
Yeah, I did not know that either. The conversation at the table felt a little rehearsed.
Yes,
I don't know that was a legit. Everything else, I was totally on the like. You can convince me that everything else just happened. Every other conversation was a legit. Like the thing with Ricky Starks and his his concerns about like, well, I'm hurt, but I don't want to be off TV. And he's like, all right, well then we'll keep you with them, and you can just talk smack and let them take the bumps. Like, I'm sure that was a real conversation that happened. This one did not. It was a funny one. Like if it was something that happened in a movie, I would have found it entertaining. But the whole, you take a sip of wine, it's like, oh yeah, that one really slaps you in the face. And like, I laughed at everything they said, but at no point did I think it was a true conversation that they were having on off the cuff.
Oh yeah. I will say this though. Cody Rhodes' sister, she's not. It seems like she does not like Brandy Rhodes at all. Like she was talking about like, you're not Rhodes. Why is your title plate saying Brandy Rhodes? You're not a Rhodes.
Yeah, I mean, they're married, so she is, but like, I don't know. And Cody's had that name legally changed since he was like 15. He said because at one point his last name was Reynolds because that's so that's a real thing. So and what an interesting name. I forgot. I almost forget that Cody had a sister. Her name is Teal, which is a very interesting first name. I thought I've never heard that one before. Last one here for the have you watched things? Have you watched the show Heels yet? Have you watched any of that?
I have not. I should. I have Stars. I don't know why I haven't picked it up yet.
I gotta find it on the second rate sites, and I'm caught up. Me and the wife watch it together. She likes it too. It's actually really good. Stephen Amell does a great job. When we wrap this up, we're about to go watch episode 7, actually. So I'm looking forward to that.
Damn, so I would definitely. I'm that far back.
I would definitely, but I mean, they're all going to be there if you have Stars, and they're if anyone that hasn't watched it yet, I'll just leave it this. You watch. It's one of those shows. You watch the first episode, and you'll know if you like it from the first one or not. So if you watch the first one and you like it, you're in. But the second episode kind of drags. So get through that second one, and then you're good. Because it was one of those we watched. I'm like, okay, I like what I see. Then I watched the second one, and it was like, oh, maybe that was when the high point's your first episode. That's never good. But after the second one, it picked right back up, and it's been going ever since then. So definitely cool show. Gives you, if you're not super inclined with the inner workings of wrestling, it kind of gives you some insight without slapping you in the face with it. It comes off very casual, and like when they use insider terms, they don't just tell you this means this. They let you figure out what it means by the time the episode's over and things like that. So if you have not watched Heels yet, I think the first season's only going to be 8 or 9 episodes. So this first season's coming to an end. It'd be a good time to pick it up because it'll be over here pretty soon. And as of what I've seen so far, I definitely hope there is a season 2. So before we get out of here, Don, has there been any more draft picks before we get out of here?
So we have Becky staying on Raw. Mm-hmm. Usos is staying on SmackDown.
Okay.
Bobby Lashley staying on Raw, and Sasha Banks is staying on SmackDown.
So absolutely nothing has happened. We've had 5. Well, Becky going to Raw.
Yeah, Becky.
That's the only real
move.
Really
only real big move. Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see. It just seems like a drop ball for like to make the draft a bit. Even last year seemed better. We did a whole episode just on the draft, and this year, like, it just didn't seem worth it. So I'm just hoping. Go ahead.
Hey, I want to do this though. Whenever I say next week, what we should do is a mock draft, our own type of draft. and see if our rosters will be better than what the rosters are right now.
Okay, so just with WWE people,
Yeah,
obviously.
WWE people, yeah.
All right, we'll have to figure out a good way to do. We'll have to do this kind of live or whatever, and like, I gotta look. It might not be next week. It might be a week or two. We gotta figure out the best way to do this. But I accept your challenge.
Yeah, we should. Yeah,
I love me a good draft.
Like we could do like your Raw and I'm SmackDown, and we're just going back and forth trying to pick the best roster. I think
for sure. I'm trying to think if
I know there's an app we could do that on.
Is there? Okay, then you gotta let me. You gotta. All right, we'll talk. We'll talk after this. All right. They said it might not be next week. Don't hold us to that one, but within the next couple episodes, we're gonna do it. It might take the whole episode, so we'll do it that way. But other than that, guys, I'm gonna go cross my fingers and hope LA Knight gets his name called at some point today because they are not treating him well on NXT. We appreciate you guys listening to the Wrestle Report, episode 34, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.